Hi, this is Lucy Arnaz. You're listening to TV Confidential.
I don't know when it was I first started admitting it to myself. For a long time, I either labeled it something else or denied it completely. But there did come a time when I just couldn't lie to myself anymore. I thought about it, but I never did anything about it.
Ed Robertson welcoming you back to TV Confidential, radio talk show about television that will play part 2 of a conversation that began last week with Laurence Luckinbill. Laurence Luckinbill, the actor known around the world as Hank in both the original Broadway production and the original motion picture version of Mart Crowley's The Boys in the Band. Also the actor known around the world as Glenn Garth Gregory, the reluctant hero with the photographic memory in the Delphi Bureau, Sybok, Spock's half-brother in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, as well as his critically acclaimed one-man shows in which Larry played LBJ, Clarence Darrow, Teddy Roosevelt, and Ernest Hemingway. Larry's autobiography, Affective Memories, How Chance and the Theater Saved My Life, is a page-turning, brutally honest story of how Larry overcame a meager upbringing and an alcoholic family growing up in the Ozark Mountains to forge his way into a successful career as a working actor on Broadway, in film, and on television. Affective Memories available wherever books are sold through Sunbury Press as well as Amazon.com. I want to go back to Boys in the Band just a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the cool things that I learned in reading about the backstory of the play in Affective Memories, Larry, is that you and Mart Crowley, the playwright, the author of the play, you had a lot more in common than you realized. You both came from the Deep South.
Yes. I am from Arkansas, and Mart was from Deep South of Mississippi, Greenwood. Mm-hmm. And I was from Fort Smith, Arkansas. And Arkansas is also very, very southern, but it's also a little bit leaning toward western because we're on the border of Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And Mart and I met at Catholic University, where I was a graduate student and he was an undergraduate. And I knew that he was a part of a sort of a clique of young men, but that didn't mean anything to me because what I liked about Mart was his understanding of the South, which I was also struggling with to figure out who I was and how I was going to live in the world of northern people. Mm-hmm. And Mart was, there was a main theater and a small theater at Catholic U. Mm-hmm. And I like the small theater because I've always been attracted to improvisation and sort of experimental stuff theatrically. And here was this kid who was creating, using the junk and trash that was old sets and costumes and stuff that were in this storage place in the small theater to create an atmosphere in a play he was directing. And I observed that, and I thought, well, this guy's got something on his mind. He's got something good going. And I was at that point just learning still about how to be an actor and how to live in this world of theater. And but then there was an occasion when I was visiting my auntie down in Arkansas, and I got a phone call from Mart, who said he was desperate. He wanted to, could he come and visit me? I said, yeah, okay. And he got on a plane, and I picked him up at the airport in my aunt's car, and we drove around town and dragged the drag, which is what we do, and ended up at the Dairy Queen. I always laugh about that because I was about ready to settle for being a manager of a Dairy Queen before my mother and the two nuns that had were my friends got me out of that. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Mart and I sat by the river, the little slimy river that was going along the railroad tracks, and watched the water moccasins go by, and we were talking about our families, and I said something about I don't know how to love anybody in my family. And he said, you have no idea, because his family had a mother that was a drug addict and a father who was a violent alcoholic. And so I had a mother that was the staff of life, and a father who was not a terrible drunk. He was just a constant drunk. And it was nowhere near like what Mart was describing. Anyway, he looked at me. He moved close to me, and he looked at me with his big eyes behind his big glasses, and I realized that he wanted something else from me, and I couldn't respond as he wanted. Yeah. And I realized that, this is he was, and he told me later he was in love with me. We remained friends for 60 years. And when he got the Tony for the best revival of a play with the second iteration of the play about 5 years ago, and he was going to have to give a speech at Radio City, he called me and said, what do I do? What do I talk about? I said, well, I'll tell you what it was like for us, the play, the actors, if you want to hear that. He said, yes. We talked for an hour and a half, and he was taking notes. So he went out, and I watched this Tony show quite a bit later after I'll tell you. But he came out, and he gave all the credit for the success of his play to the actors, to those of us who took on the roles. And it was so wonderfully done, and then he died. He had a heart condition, and he knew it, and he had beaten alcoholism and drug addiction, and he had had a great success in his life, and he was my little brother, so that was how that worked.
Affective Memories available wherever books are sold, through Sunbury Press as well as Amazon.com. I'm trying to remember, were you at Catholic U the night you saw Charles Laughton perform?
No, I was at this Fort Smith Junior College.
Okay.
Yeah, where I went, that was my salvation from high school. When I said the two nuns and my mother got me in there.
Yes.
It was $100 a year tuition, and we had to come up with it, and we did. And so I was there, and then my family moved away. I was with my auntie then, who was a school teacher in Fort Smith. And my family moved to California because my sister had married a doctor from there. My sister was an RN, so they thought they could get a new start. My father was running his string in Fort Smith. He was a well-known guy and a salesman, a very good salesman, but he was drunk too often, and so nobody would give him a job for him. So when he went to California, it was with the idea of getting a new start. And so I was by myself pretty much then with my aunt, and for the years of college. So there came a time in that junior college thing where I was experiencing some excitement about learning things, because I took a history course that was so exciting. And then they drove us to this 1930s theater that was still existing there in town. I was 17. And there was to be a speaker, a lecture. And, that excited us about as much as picking your nose. And I found a girl to sit next to, and I thought that would occupy me doing this boring thing. And a man walked out, and wearing a fabulous suit, I noticed that, and he had long gray hair. I mean, his hair was silver. I mean, a man with long hair and a good suit. It's like, something never seen, a unicorn. And he walked across the stage with an armful of books. He dumped the books on the podium, bang, and opened the first book, snap, and that woke everybody up. And he started reading, and he said, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And he went on with the biblical of his Genesis. And then he went to poetry, and then he went to theater, and there were all of these fantastic things. And I sat there absolutely jaw on the floor, couldn't find it. It was dark on the floor. I couldn't get my jaw back up. And I'm just watching this thing. And my peers, the other kids, were kind of bored. And I was taken away to heaven by this man because of the way he spoke and what the power of the stuff that he was reading was. And I thought, wow, that's something to do. Wow, and that's kind of how far I could take it at that point. I didn't see myself doing that. But I thought, gosh, that's a good thing to do. And it was like the first time I got to see movies when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I started seeing movies when I was 12, 11, or no, even younger, 10, because in those days you could take a can of peaches sneak it from the pantry in your house, and use it to get into movies. It was they took a barter.
Yes.
So if you didn't have the quarter.
Yeah, in fact, if I remember correctly, there was a theater in Arkansas known as the Barter Theater.
No, that was Virginia.
Oh, that's Virginia, okay.
Yeah, yes, Virginia had the Barter Theater, and I think it was even North Carolina at one point. It was I knew those people. It was a great theater, and it came about because of the Great Depression. People didn't have any money, but they wanted to see a show, and so they would take barter.
Well, when I read...
Here, take my sheep.
When I... that would be a big thing to barter if you bring a sheep to the theater, but...
That's right, yeah, but you're not going to go home with it.
You're not going to go home with it, that's for sure. When I read the passage of you describing that night when you saw Charles Laughton perform recite from the classics and basically perform from the classics in given that dramatic reading, I wrote down the word transformative because you had to figure out, or you didn't know how to get from A to B at the time, but that was a life-changing moment for you.
Yes, it was. It was a life-changing moment. And you don't even know they are life-changing moments until you realize your life has changed.
Yes.
But you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean.
On you sometime later that, now I made that decision. It was because I saw Charles Laughton, and he blew me away. And so, it's actually the opening, the portal for gratitude to come into a person's life.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
Hi, this is Conchetta Tomei, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
Affective Memories by Laurence Luckinbill, How Chance and the Theater Saved My Life, available wherever books are sold through Sunbury Press. You can also find it at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Larry's website, LaurenceLuckinbill.com.
You know, I'm working on a speech. I have to give a speech in a week or so, and I'm going to do some reading from the book. So I'm just sitting here taking out scenes and trying to read them and see if they're too long and whatever, because there's this eternal need to be briefer and briefer and briefer and briefer until you're Snapchatting and everything is disappearing as you say it, you know. So it's kind of hard, but the people here in Palm Springs are actually wonderful people to talk to as an actor, because a lot of them have come from fabulous dues in their own lives, and now they're not looking to go anywhere else. It used to be called God's waiting room here, but it's I don't think it's that anymore. It's a very exciting little town, and people love the theater. And I have just written something that I'll tell you about. It's going to be on YouTube. I wrote a piece. It's 5,000 words because I explained from the beginning of this revolution, American Revolution, to now, what goes on here and what's happening and what's happened. And it's a warning, and it's a plea for people to get out and try to fix this and stop this man from continuing his destruction. And so that's going to be, and we've put pictures to it and music to it by Lucy, and Lucy knows how to make a show, and she also knows a lot about how to turn on a computer. All I know is, yes, you open it by putting your fingernails under the edge, and it opens up, and oh my goodness, and you left it on last night. I see. Well, there it is. There's the words. And what do you press? Oh, yes, you press the keys. That's about what I know.
It's one of many reasons why you are both good partners to each other.
Yes. Well, I wrote it longhand, and I had a great person who read my hieroglyphics and turned it into pages.
Since we recorded our conversation with Larry has since finished that video. It is now available for viewing on demand for free on the Lucy Arnaz official channel on YouTube, and it is called
A History and a Quest. Now is the time for all good men and women to come to the aid of their country. In high school, that was the first thing we had to learn in typing class. Every one of us was expected to learn a trade, to be skilled enough to do a job in an office, to be prepared for life. But we were barely taught our number one job, civics, how to be a citizen. It was just a given. Nothing to worry about. We live in a democracy.
Larry Luckinbill's A History and a Quest, an opinion piece on who we the people are, is a mini-documentary that provides a primary lesson in fundamental civics and a history of why America exists and why true democracy matters. The complete piece runs about 40 minutes and is well worth watching. Larry Luckinbill's A History and a Quest, available right now for viewing on demand for free on the Lucy Arnaz official YouTube channel. We'll include a link to that video on the show notes for this program. In the meantime, Larry's memoir, Affective Memories, How Chance and the Theater Saved My Life, is available wherever books are sold through Sunbury Press and Amazon.com. When we come back, Larry and I will talk about the Delphi Bureau. The Delphi Bureau, the short-lived espionage series created by and produced by Sam Rolfe, in which Larry starred as Glenn Garth Gregory, a reluctant hero whose only real weapon in his fight against crime was his photographic memory. Though most people consider Jim Rockford to be the original reluctant hero in the world of contemporary dramatic television, Glenn Garth Gregory and the Delphi Bureau actually preceded Jim Rockford in the Rockford Files by several years. We'll talk about that and more when we continue our conversation with Laurence Luckinbill here on TV Confidential.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-222-0511. 800-222-0511. Again, that's 800-222-0511.